of the game. It's a rich thing.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl BinkiBianca with some more blog talk, and today we're going to be talking about Fresh and Fit and their recent visit to the Flagrant 2 podcast. So Flagrant 2 is a podcast that is run by Andrew Schulz and Akaash Singh. They also have a supporting cast including Alexx Media, and they discuss various different things. It's a wild podcast. I love it. I'm actually subscribed to their Patreon. I've been a fan for years. So it's a dope podcast. I am an a-hole army person, and I enjoy it a lot. It's not a podcast for the faint of heart. They talk about whatever. It's not politically correct. It's just a lot of fun. So I enjoy this podcast, and I don't know if I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that Fresh and Fit were going to be on there, but when I saw they were going to be on there, I definitely wanted to listen to the episode because the guys did recently react to the viral comments that the guys made about not wanting to date Shaniqua's and LaQuisha's, you know, that whole thing, etc. They reached out to Andrew and they wanted to be on the podcast after they saw the Flagrant 2 guys react to those comments, because they wanted to come on and kind of clarify their comments and have more of a discussion around it, and not just have the clip out there without further discussion. So take a look at an excerpt from that episode.
Then someone resurfaces this Twitter thing. Mind you, we had already went viral because of this
on Twitter.
On Twitter prior, like 6 months before.
Yeah,
Got you.
Literally.
But the thing is it never went to YouTube. It just stayed on Twitter, died there. Like
Got you.
Something called Black Twitter. I didn't even know it existed until this clip came out.
Shocking.
So, yeah.
I bet there was white girl Twitter.
They are real.
That shit.
I had a bunch of angry people messaging me after. So anyway, so the clip resurfaces, blah, blah, blah. And with that episode, what they did was they pulled like a 30-second excerpt from an episode we did about a year ago where we talked about using different dating apps to meet different girls. Okay. And our show, for those of you that might not know, we shoot it live, right?
Yeah.
And we get super chats that come in, and we read the super chats. We make jokes, ha ha ha, all that other stuff. We take call-ins.
Those are donations, by the way.
Donations
to the show.
So it's a very interactive show with our audience. So someone sent in a super chat, and mind you, we had just finished making fun of some other YouTubers in this clip, but prior to what they actually clipped. And then he says, "Hey, have you ever heard of the dating website Blacked?" And then that's when we made those jokes like, haha, we don't dabble in the dark, you know, Night Rider, whatever. And we say that joke all the time about like Night Rider. We ask girls when they come on, like white girls, hey, do you like the BBC, whatever?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, she's a Night Rider, David Hasselhoff in house, ha ha ha, right?
Right.
No one says anything, but they want to go and pull that clip.
But don't you think the issue is you guys just declaring that you don't really date black girls? Don't you think that's what people are upset about?
Well, I mean, at the same time, we have preferences, right? And we have standards. But, you know, we were kind of joking because of the black dating app per se. It wasn't like, oh, we hate black women. It's more like, okay, we don't really date like hood black chicks per se. Like LaShawn and LaQuisha. But it wasn't like we hate black women. It's like, they took it that way because of Asian doll, but we didn't say we hate black women.
Right. But you would date black girls is what you're saying.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we have in the past.
Bro.
It's not our normal preference.
I had a yacht party, bunch of white girls. I was dating the only black girl there.
Right.
It's like, bro, I don't hate black women. My mom's black. My sister's black. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's just like, you know, they're going to sensationalize it, paint this narrative that you guys are racist, take a 10-second clip. And here's the thing. If anybody watches our podcast, we're kind of like you guys, very politically incorrect, make jokes.
That's the thing. I never criticize people for
like
jokes.
That's
I'm not gonna. But then again, we might have different prerogatives with the podcast. Like I think you guys are more like a life coaching space and like helping guys become the best version of themselves. And we are comedians that just say fucked up shit all the time. It's literally called Flagrant 2. Like we are being flagrant on purpose. So you're gonna be treated with different expectations.
Of course. And the thing is this, like, I make fun of everybody, you know.
Go into the preference thing, man. Let's talk about what
I make fun of everybody. So it's like,
fuck that preferences, bro.
Preferences.
Like, I want to
here's
know
where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. Well, I'm not saying I don't have a problem with the joke, but I have empathy for trying to be funny, and then it comes out fucked up, and then everybody's on your neck.
Exactly.
That's something. Al can speak to black shit a lot more. I can speak to, yo, you're trying to be funny. It comes out fucked up. That's not what you meant. What I don't like, what I find corny as fuck, is my preference is not my women. Now, I thought it was I'm not dating my women, period, which is the corniest human being outside of a criminal to me, period. It's just, those are your roots. Those women are reflected in your roots. So if you're saying, hey, I don't generally date them, but I have more space for it, even though I still think it's a little corny between... That's just my thing.
Like Akaash is the extreme. Like Akaash only dates brown.
Oh, okay.
Akaash has been with one girl in his life who is his wife.
That's my wife. That's an
So
Indian
this
woman.
is
that was
like
important
loyal
to me.
through and through.
Okay.
And I understand it's not as important for y'all, but as an Indian, there's not a lot of us who are famous. So whether you like it or not, people are looking at you as a role model. You guys have established yourselves as role models. From simps to pimps, which is another motto I find kind of corny, but I looked into what you guys are about. And a lot of the shit is just childish, which is fine if you want to be funny. We just talk about how doctors ain't shit for 45 minutes. We are not in any way life coaching. We are not in any way trying to help men outside of, hey, come have a laugh for a couple hours. If you're going to paint yourself as life coaches and then say shit like, you know what I mean, I just don't really fuck with black girls like that.
I guess my like just curiosity, I'm just curious, is like, where does preference come from? Like, I was trying to think about this after I saw the clip, and I was just like, why do I like what I like? And I really was thinking about that. Like, who decides that? Is it my life? Is it my surroundings? Like, if I was raised in Mexico, I'm sure I would find Mexican girls beautiful. I would eat Mexican food. Like, these would be my preferences. Yeah. But preferences aren't really choices, right? Culture dictates our preferences.
I think it's experiences. Also, I want to say what you've been raised on, what you've been taught. Because, for example, I'm from the islands, right? Barbados.
Yeah.
So I've seen mainly black women my whole life. Now, when it comes to like tourist girls, I was like, wow, white girls are here in Barbados? Lit. I want to see what's up.
Wildin'.
So
Yeah.
I give it a try. Like, it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
now, it's two different cultures. So for me, I was like, okay, let me try something new, see how it is.
Yeah.
Now I'm here in the States, it's like, okay, Spanish girls, white girls, girls from all over the world, all right, bet. However, regarding black women per se, like, dude, like, my thing is like, we're in a space where like people are targeted, especially the black people per se, black, white.
Yeah.
And it's like, whatever you say can be used to the extreme. So what we said was kind of like, I want to say, not funny to them, but to us is like, we're just cracking jokes, trying to be.
You're being hyperbolic about your dating preferences.
Yeah,
right. That's
much.
kind of how I took it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think I think you can understand how the internet might have taken it, right? And then doubling down and being like, it's okay to have this as a preference that you like. Usually, your preference is what you like, not what you don't.
Exactly.
I think that was the biggest issue. Like, if you just
Yes.
like, hey, my preference is I kind of like Latinas, I don't even think you get any pushback. But saying my preference is I don't like that, that's, I think, where people start to feel rejected, and then they go, why don't you like me, man? Like,
And
what's
also
wrong?
the way they said they didn't like it. Like, that's what I was like bothered by the clip. It's like, you guys go out of your way to say what you don't like, even though that's not what you're discussing. It's like your preference is what you do like, but then the way in which you went about how you don't like black women. Oh, I don't like the ratchet, I don't like the ghetto, I don't like the Shaniquas. Like, that's like, if you are a white person saying all that, that's racist shit. And I'm just disappointed in you guys as black men to be talking about our sisters like that. So you don't have a problem with the way you spoke about your sisters like that? Like, if it was him saying the same thing, you would be upset.
No.
Okay, so there was a small clip there from the episode. Now, the episode is actually about an hour and a half long, so I will link the full episode down below in the description, so you can definitely go check out the conversation. It is one worth listening to. Now, I will say that I do really appreciate the fact that Akaash and Alex were very vocal with what they were saying, you know, to Fresh and Fit, about their comments and why their comments are a problem, why they are an issue. You know, they had a lot to say when they saw the clip before the guys were there. So I appreciate that they kept that same energy when Fresh and Fit were in their faces, and they actually were able to articulate and say, look, guys, this is why it's a problem. You know, and even Akaash, you know, going so far as to say, like, there's some self-loathing there. And it's very corny to say you don't date your own women. That's what you're from. Like, what do you mean? You know, and he seemed like really disgusted by it. And I appreciate that coming from another man, especially another man that has some stature in the podcast game that, you know, people can listen to. Because honestly, you know, when I did the video about the fact that Joe Budden has something to say, oh, so many men, you know, these men, they're so sensitive these days. So many men were so upset that I actually said, hey, I appreciate that a black man, that Joe came out and said this. I never said Joe is my hero, that I'm putting Joe on my shoulders, that, oh, I'm going to resubscribe to his podcast and I love everything about Joe. I didn't say anything except hey, I appreciate that he said this, because at the end of the day, black women are talked about online by black men so negatively all day, every day. It's a complaint, from how we take care of our children to how we wear our hair to anything we do, how we speak, whatever. It's a complaint. We're not good enough. And this is why, you know, they want to date other women, whatever. It's just a lot of corny things that happen online. So people used Joe as a scapegoat to ignore the message that he had. So I appreciate someone like Akaash, someone like Alexx Media, you know, who is a black man. He's black and Puerto Rican. You look at Alexx, he's black. You know what I'm saying? And that is how he identifies. But standing up for us and saying, you know, you feel it's okay to talk about our women like that? And let's get something straight here. You know, Fresh and Fit, they want to keep saying and get away and slide and say, hey, it's just jokes. It's our preference. And yeah, we made jokes, and we make jokes like this all the time. We're so fucking corny, because they are, okay? That's what they keep wanting to get away with. But understand this, guys. This isn't just about your preference, okay? We're not stupid. A lot of what you said was racially motivated. It was prejudicial, and it was disgusting. You know, talking about black women and saying you don't dabble in the dark, saying you're not down with the brown. What else? We're not night riders. The Shaniquas and LaQuishas. No. That all of that was not necessary just to say we don't use that app. I mean, it's just that simple. You know, but you went the extra mile, and you sounded like white men that are out of touch with the year that we're in. That's what you sounded like. Not two black men talking about their dating preferences. And furthermore, you're talking about Shaniquas and LaQuishas. That statement has so much to unpack in and of itself. Short guy, I don't know his name, the shorter one. But understand that Shaniqua and LaQuisha assumes that all black women are ghetto, quote unquote, number one. Or number two, if her name is Shaniqua and LaQuisha, that she's ghetto, right? That's internalized racism, because there's Shaniquas and LaQuishas with law degrees, honey. Doctors, engineers, scientists, Shaniquas and LaQuishas. And they should be proud of their names. But because somehow, somewhere, having an ethnically black name is seen as such a negative thing, people like you make fun of those names and try to instill shame in our children, our young ladies, our women, if they have those names. What's wrong with having that name? Other ethnicities have ethnic names. If her name is Lourdes, that's not a joke, right? If her name is Shruti, if her name is Lau, it's cool, right? But if her name's Shaniqua or LaQuisha, that means says something about her negative to you automatically, right? You're telling on yourself without telling on yourself, my brother. And understand this. We need to get to a point as black people where we stop buying into the crap where we put down quote unquote ghetto black people. Because let's be real, ghetto black people making all this shit go around. Social media is lit, you know, because of quote unquote ghetto black people. The music, rap music, you know, the dance routines, the way we dress, the way we speak, the way we style our hair, the way we do our nails. A lot of that comes from ghetto black culture. You know, y'all want to sit up there and use the N-word, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Y'all not emulating, you know, the other types of black people, quote unquote, that's out there. You're not emulating the black nerds that love anime and art and all those things. No, y'all try to emulate your speech patterns after the ghetto black people. You try to instill shame. Why? There's not just one type of black person, and it's okay. But let's not act like being hood and having hood behavior and speech patterns and fashion is something to be ashamed of when everybody wants to look like us. Everybody wants to sound like us. But it's y'all self-hating asses that want to act like that's a problem. I remember, honestly, when I was in elementary school, I was friends with this little white girl. I was probably 9 or 10 at the time. I had went to her house for her birthday party. I was hanging out, whatever. And then she came to school a couple days later and she said, you know, Bianca, I was talking to my dad and he said, Bianca's cool. I really like her. She's not like the rest of them, but you can't bring one home. But I like Bianca. She's cool. And, you know, I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old. And so was she. So she probably was like thinking, hey, that's a compliment. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And when I told my mom that, she was brushing my hair. I'll never forget. We were in the bathroom and she caught my eye in the mirror and said, what did he say? And when I told her, she was pissed. And I was never allowed to go over there again. You know, and I didn't really understand it. And she tried to explain it to me. But him saying I'm not like the rest, as if that's some compliment, steeped in racism. And Mr. Barbados said the same thing to a black woman on their show. You know, you're not like the other black women. You know, you're very different than the rest of them. Said the same thing to this girl on his show that a white man said to his daughter when I was 9 or 10 years old, talking about me. Like, it instantly took me back to that. So please miss me with it was jokes and we all have our preferences and we don't have a problem with black women, because you're telling on yourself. You think you're smarter than you really clearly are. And it's out of hand at this point. Now, you can like who you want to like. I don't like you. You don't have to like me. That's fine. We can move on with our lives. But don't expect that people aren't going to have something to say about your ignorant statements when you make them. So let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Did you think that Akaash and Alex did a good job of trying to explain why their questions or their statements were a problem? You know, or do you think that it's still all just preference and we're all just being too sensitive? Definitely leave me a comment below, a like, and a subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.